know you're lost, lost in the thrill of it all.
I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. Folks, today we're going to review the highly anticipated Frank Ocean debut album, Channel Orange. If you guys haven't heard about Channel Orange or Frank Ocean, you're probably not really into the indie scene. Right now, this is a huge album. It has like a 93 on Metacritic, which is a site that Tom and I frequent a lot. It's a really popular album right now. Everyone's just tearing this thing up. So, Frank Ocean. He's a member of Odd Future.
Yeah.
Kind of hung out with Tyler the Creator and some of those guys, and kind of after Katrina moved to LA, has set up his kind of got into the music scene there, and really has come together in this first debut album. It's an R&B style of music. It's neo soul, a lot of Marvin Gaye influences.
Definitely.
Tom, what other influences you were naming off of?
I think just some of that old school funk and Motown and soul. Marvin Gaye for sure. A little bit of Stevie Wonder at times. But keep in mind, that's mostly in the vocal delivery. Yeah. For sure. Just in the style he's trying to set up with his voice, the tone that he's trying to set.
And that's what this album is all about, is really just creating, okay, here, let's produce a set of R&B tracks that are interesting in their composure, but also just provide a nice platform for Frank Ocean to do his thing. And that's just make incredible vocals. Throughout this album, I was impressed with the vocals. I thought that was just a clear, strong point. But you have all these very memorable, very nicely produced beats and just electronic melodies in the background.
Yeah. Everything is very thick, very lush. Just the entire soundscape, there's lots of little things going on, and they blend really well together to make something that sounds very cohesive within each track.
Yep. Frank Ocean also has a lot of very colorful lyrics, some of which I got into and some of which I didn't, and it was kind of hit or miss when it came to the lyrics for me. Now I know Tom liked the lyrics just a little bit better, and lyrics are something that they're kind of edgy at times. They're not your typical run-of-the-mill lyrics, and I think that's what makes some of these tracks so memorable. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, like when you get to like Sweet Life and Super Rich Kids, kind of in the beginning to middle of the album there, he's obviously trying to make a point, make a statement about just lifestyles, things like that. And it's really interesting, kind of, you mentioned the indie scene earlier, and this is a debut album, and it's on a major label, but really this guy's roots are in the indie scene. If you've heard about him at all, it's been from his work with Odd Future, probably. But then also, he kind of crossed over into some tracks on Watch the Throne with Jay-Z and Kanye West. Nothing indie about those guys. So we're kind of seeing the Odd Future group grow up and blossom into something that's going to be more widespread. Now, that's probably going to piss some people off, but I mean, think about these guys. It's probably what they've alys wanted.
Right. So especially somebody as talented as Frank Ocean.
Oh, definitely.
Who has an amazing singing voice. So for any time, and it makes sense why Jay-Z and Kanye West would pick him up if they need somebody to sing in their choruses.
Yeah, exactly.
Just makes sense.
Probably at the time he was cheap,
Right, very cheap.
But now, who knows? I mean, but you think about the theming of this album. That's really kind of where I was getting to, sets it apart from the comparisons I was making from like the 60s and 70s kind of soul, and also from other modern soul stuff like Neo and Usher, if you really want to call him that. He's tackling some issues, some racial issues, some kind of controversial stuff, but he's really, you can tell, more than anything, instead of making a club hit, he's trying to make a statement about contemporary life.
Yeah, and another thing that I got to give him credit for on Channel Orange is really that he sculpted this album to flow like an album. There's intro tracks in there where it cuts out. There's a lot of good variety in there. You don't have two tracks sounding alike, right, but up next to each other. There's even a closing track. I feel like that is exactly what I'm looking for when I'm thinking about a shaped album for a complete straight-through listening experience. In today's world, that's getting harder and harder to find. So when I see an artist that on their debut album shows that kind of clairvoyance, that they know that they need to go out there and do that, awesome. I love it. Overall, Tom, what was your opinion, Channel Orange? Let's lay down some criticism.
Yeah, because we've been saying mostly good things, but really we don't love this album quite as much as everyone else is.
You got to also keep in mind, this is getting such incredible hype. Yeah. We do have some major criticisms. I'll come out and say I like this album. I think it's very solid.
Me too. For me, one of the biggest things was just that I feel like While the background of what Frank Ocean is singing over sounds very good, it doesn't really go anywhere in any one track. Well, with the exception of Pyramids, track 10.
Which is a 10-minute.
Yeah, 10-minute track. That song goes just about everywhere. But kind of the way the songs work is you get these instrumentals coming in and they're produced very well. I love his choice of instruments. There's some guitar in there. There's some kind of classic organ stuff. But once that's set up, it kind of settles into a groove and it doesn't grow. It's only a platform for Frank Ocean's vocals.
Right. And the track lengths aren't too long.
No.
So I think that it never like wears thin on you. It is what it is. There's not a lot going on.
More than anything, I think it's a missed opportunity.
Right.
Because if he had the backdrop of the sound grow more with his voice and evolve more on tracks, you know, even 3 or 4 minutes long. It doesn't have to be a 10-minute long track for the instrumentals to evolve with the vocals.
Right.
And I just feel like he doesn't really do that a whole lot. It's all about the vocals, and while there are a lot of good intricacies backing those vocals up, they never really quite take the limelight enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another thing, Tom, you know, I mentioned earlier that the lyrics kind of bothered me, and I found that it was just on specific tracks. And I found that those tracks also just had a lot of sounds in there that maybe I didn't particularly like. And part of that is just, I think, he's just experimenting a lot. He's trying to do something new, and I think sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. For me personally, now, the tracks that I may not like, you may love, and the tracks I may love, you may not like. And as Tom and I found out, because we kind of like some different tracks here, but like, for instance, I think, personally, I think the track Lost, track 11, is one of the best tracks I've heard this year.
Definitely.
I love that song. It's super catchy, gets stuck in my head, great hooks. But I also really liked his lyrics on Pink Matter, track 15, and that also has Andre 3000 stepping in doing kind of...
Great guest spot.
Oh, it's a great guest spot. And it just kind of shows that you know, Frank Ocean has a very eclectic view of how he writes his music. He's willing to take risks. He's willing to try different things and make different sounds. And I think that that's a good thing. But you know, I think it just needs to be honed a little bit. So I had a little bit of issue with just track displacement. Certain tracks I thought were excellent. Certain ones I was like I could skip over. Like for instance, Sierra Leone. I didn't think that track was all that impressive.
And if you really want to listen to that song, just go listen to "Save the Children" by Marvin Gaye off of What's Going On. He does like the exact same kind of call and response, talking vocal thing, and I mean, it made me think of it immediately. It was kind of frustrating for me. But anyways, I totally agree with you that I think one of the biggest setbacks is just track displacement. There are, I mean, my track picks, my 5 that I picked, I love. And there are even a couple others that I like quite a bit. But still, you got a 17-track album. Yeah, there are a few in-between tracks in there, yeah, you know, kind of for transitions. I'm not really talking about those as much, but there's still like 4 or 5 other full songs. One of them, to me, being Pyramids, which is a 10-minute, what's supposed to be the capstone of the album, I actually thought was weaker. I'm sure I'm probably in the minority on that from a lot of listeners, but I just found that there were a few tracks that just didn't hold up their end of the album.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Now, I think we would be amiss to not come out and say that this album actually does speak a lot for the world we live in and the generation that we live in. A lot of people are commenting and praising Frank Ocean for his societal commentaries and kind of where we're at, you know, in just pop culture and in society right now. That being said, that's definitely here. And if you're into that sort of thing, you will probably love this album if that's very important to you. That plays a role in our experience, but Tom and I are very, very much about what is the music that we're hearing, what is it doing, and how is it doing it. That's what we're all about. So we get a little less into kind of the backstories of the artists and what the whole album, the whole point of it, the statement that it's making. I mean, that's an added bonus to us, but not something that we're like basing our scores off of. So wanted to throw that out there. But if it's if that's something that you're looking for, this is definitely an album you should check out. Which really, it's a pretty good album altogether. I think you guys should check this out anyways. I'm got a couple reservations, but overall, very solid. I'm going 75.
I'm going even 80.
Sweet. What did you guys think? Everyone's loving this album. Where were you at? Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. As always, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and you know, just keep that conversation going. You guys are what makes VIMTV what it is, so thank you for participating. I'm Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.
About you, no, I've been thinking about you. Do you think about me still?